All right, here we go again. What they're doing is somebody has the capability to drop it down to 4G as soon as I attempt to broadcast. So that would include Verizon. I realize I'm limited on who can hear me, but whatever God does with the purpose of it hitting its mark. So if you succeed in evil and you're getting paid for evil, then God will destroy you in hell. So that's the thing to remember. Just trying to help everyone. Remember, there is a hell, and the stories that they tell you about saving the pedophile, saving the world from the pedophile, is bullshit. They use pedophiles. They know that if they use pedophiles, they can project pedophilia into their victim better. The CIA and the FBI and the Marshal Service and the police department, they've been doing this a long time, probably about 30, 40 years. And then when the internet came along, they found that they could do it much easier. Okay, if you go to New Mexico, and you look in the news and you look at those people that said they were saving Santa Fe from pedophiles, they're actually who I was speaking about when I was in Santa Fe, that it was a scam. That they're actually the pedophiles. They're with adults. Don't let them tell you that that's some little weird cell. That secret society is all over New Mexico. And if you don't know, there's an airfield in New Mexico. If you don't know, there's the proving grounds. I think it's the proving grounds or the scientific grounds, whatever it is. Los Alamos, right? Nuclear science and all that. Russia has missiles, at least two missiles, nuclear missiles, that will be fired into New Mexico. The people that are doing my life, a ton of them are from New Mexico. I curse them every day. Not directly. I curse the things that come against me. And I know for sure a bunch of them are from New Mexico. Just to let you know, I got a neat little rig here. I got that Revelator that I use, the IO44 on a belt. Finally got that done. So I'm going from my lavalier mic into the Revelator IO44. It comes out of that analog 3.5 millimeter into my Rode Wireless Go that I have on that wristband. And then it comes out of the receiver on the Wireless Go with USB going up into my phone and then streaming. But what's going on now is I have the transmitter on the Rode Wireless Go 2 that I have recording. So no matter what happens, I have it recorded. And after this, I can go and I can edit it and then put it up there later if it doesn't work this way, if somehow they block the stream. So to let you know that my curses go to God. I've told you that all the time. And I let God sort it out. But me cursing is addressing what's going on today. And they cursed in the ancient times also. Again, they call it something different. I tried to explain to you that Jesus used magic, but he called something magic. And the disciples called something magic. They didn't consider their powers magic. So again, in the translation, something's a little confused. But God doesn't want to give you magic anyway. So again, it works for God's purpose. Your churches are saying don't use magic. Of course, we don't want you all using magic, but guess what happened? You all figured out how to use magic while not calling it magic. Is it the same as what Jesus used? No. You're the devils. You're the ones that are causing people to fall. Using your will and curses, and it's creative language also that will do it. But you see, you harness your you take your will and you connect it to your mouth, and you're causing that to occur. You're projecting and causing people to fall. Everybody knows it, everybody sees it, but everybody's afraid of you because you're with the police and the partners picking victims out of the community to do it directly to them physically. They don't want to be the physical victims. And then, of course, security, intelligence officers, people that work in emergency rooms that let the person die when they get the high sign from the police officer. So that woman you're prosecuting that killed, or she's not killing, 2002, she killed some people while she was a nurse. That's normal. That goes on every day. But when the FBI orders the hit, when the CIA orders the hit, and nobody gets investigated. Now, she may have been that back then, and they do run amok. Like I told you, Chauvin is a product of psychological murder, and he eventually physically murdered. He, looking at everybody like, what's the big deal? We killed people for years. So again, is it every police officer? No. Are there some good police officers? No, none good. No, not one. I mean, Jesus said that, right? So again, why do I say that also? There's many reasons that I say that. To neutralize what they put into your mind. Remember, there's none good, no, not one. So what does that do? Okay, it's better to be this, it's better to be that. No, there's none good. No, not one. So again, out there today is a medical person that's being manipulated by a spycraft operator that's going to kill somebody tomorrow, and nobody's going to investigate it. And if you get there to investigate it and you're a police officer, you'll get waved off by something. That something is that something that always waves you off, right? The first part is getting to the point where you investigate it. Well, it's like I got a question. Somebody asked, well, why did it take so long? Why? I mean, no, not why did it take so long. Why, I'm going to answer why it took so long, but why are we prosecuting her now? It's like Epstein. It took Epstein. How long did it take him to prosecute Epstein? Why? He was out of power. It was more expedient for them to take Epstein out and try to use that arrest against Trump and others than it was to leave him out there. Oh, Trump was like, yeah. So again, the people that arrested Epstein just did it because it was, I wouldn't say political, it's crime organization expedient, not politically. So again, the idea that it's politics, that it's law enforcement. So we go to New Mexico. If you don't know, there was a group of people, and if you go back through the years, you'll figure out that the 25-year-old man was about 21 or 22 and having sex with like a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old. So they were having sex like that, but they were supposedly going to stop the pedophile. Now, this is throughout New Mexico. It's a state that, they believe in, you don't speak about your family or what's happening in the community when it's the people that are part of the thing. So it's a big pedophile community. And I wouldn't know this, but they tried to pull the pedophile shuffle on me. They were trying to sexualize me, but they were also using word of mouth to say that I was one already. And that's how you do it. That's how witches do it. That's how devils do it. They say somebody, you'll see me highlight the word say a lot. They'll begin saying it. It's actually a spell. And they let the other witches know in FBI and DHS and DEA, in the state police and local police, in the Walmart, Kmart, what spells to use on the person. And then also what spycraft operations to use on the victim. Now, what they want to do is to have that person victimize somebody, but it doesn't matter if you do or don't, they're going to say it. So these people are sitting there and they're supposedly going after the pedophile, but they're having like orgies, which, do whatever you want. I'm not against that, but don't sit there and have orgies and be a pedophile and work with the police to try to force somebody who's innocent into being a pedophile or looking like they're a pedophile. That's what's going on in the world. They sit on somebody for 20 years, say they're a pedophile one day. Then 20 years, they become a pedophile. They start when they're 40, they're 60 years old, they become a pedophile, and they go, see, I told you that was a pedophile. What kind of shit is that? That's satanic. But you go to church, right? So you're clean, right? You're not a pedophile, right? But you create pedophiles. You're not the sinner, but you're Satan, right? Satan incarnate, right? No, you're testing people, right? Yeah, like I told you, it's just like when we go to the academy. If you're in law enforcement, I don't know if you're one of these guys or gals, but you go to law enforcement, again, each his own. You go to the academy for law enforcement. Every academy I was in, this happens. They pair off, and they're going to study together, right? I mean, this is what they do. And they run off, they're going to run off and have sex, but they all act like, we're just studying partners. We're just studying. And fine, that's what you do, but don't come along like you're the five virgins. And that's what's going on in the government. And sometimes they do. Your police department may have five virgins, but that doesn't make you a virgin. And 10 to 1, the five virgins are psychotic, causing everybody else to have sex. You see, I know how the world works. Why? Because I'm connected to the source. The source looks at you and goes, what the hell are you all doing? And you go, well, we're holy. We're set aside. We're the police. Respect our person. We do 911 calls. So where that grew from ancient times was the fact that now they're an organized crime entity forcing crime into the lives of their victims and telling us that they're holy because they do 911 calls. Now, I admit your preacher is an idiot. Your preacher works for Satan and confused you. But there's a certain point where you have culpability. This is where the world loses it. Well, I am forgiven. Yeah, well, look at the forgiven. Now, could somebody be a pimp, murderer, mass shooter, narcotics peddler, and go to heaven? Well, to me, God has taught me, first off, that's a last life. That person is last. Because he didn't become Trump. Trump didn't work for nothing. But I didn't tell you, that guy that was all that, he was in the army, he went to church. Well, when he went to the army, they all gayed him. He came out of the army gay. You ever wonder how that stuff happens? This is how it really happens, man. Guy goes in heterosexual, comes out gay. Or gal goes in heterosexual. Next thing you know, she's a captain transsexual. Or trans, not transsexual, what do they call them? Trans woman or trans man. That was the old term. The old term was transsexual before we came up with trans woman, trans man. Well, I've been studying all sorts of stuff, and I'm going back through time, so I connect in with it, and sometimes it comes up in the mind. Right. Okay. There is actually trans people in here also. They're trying to get me to explain the differences in their sexuality metaphysically. Why one wants to become a trans woman, the other one is only a cross-dresser kind of thing. And I guess back in the old days, they would say that was a transvestite or something like that. I mean, actually, even the pro-trans people would use the term transvestite. Remember that Rocky Horror Picture Show? Right. That was like really ahead of its time, But I was in Philadelphia where they had trans people. I didn't know at first, but when I got older, they had trans people in the Mummers Parade. They were actually the women. There were no women in the Mummers Parade. They were all trans. So Philadelphia, I'm like I said, I was asleep, and then finally I wake up a little bit. I'm like, what? I mean, that Marilyn Monroe's a man? Because they're amazing. I mean, they look like Marilyn Monroe. So where are we now with all that? Again, we're having it operated, so it's not. Some would say low key. I got somebody who's just suggested something in my mind. It's not as low key as it used to be. Again, it's becoming in your face. Again, God could do that, but I'm not going to say that it's God yet. And I'll explain that. So there's some things I have to explain over time, and hopefully I can continue on and have this work for everyone. So you can understand where we are biblically instead of where they explain to you where we are biblically as they babble on. And again, remember, Malcolm X was not all bad. He woke up at a certain point, and that's when they killed him. So you know how that works, right? I researched to see if it was CIA and FBI manipulating it. I couldn't find it for sure. Because remember, in Project Artichoke, they can cause you to assassinate. So did they enter into that organization and cause the assassination of Malcolm X? That was the question. But I'm going to go back to this, metaphysics. They cursed Malcolm X harder because he no longer said what they wanted him to say. Malcolm X said peace was the way, and that's the direction he was going to go. So he's not all bad. As far as, if you would look at it as, I'm in your body looking at him as a law enforcement officer. And now you have gotten somebody who was speaking about violence that said, hey, that's the wrong thing. We need to go in another direction. And then they killed him. Again, kind of a Jesus thing too, right? So again, you have to neutralize your mind or let God do it. And look, I have emotion. I'm human here in this body. However, you have to get rid of it. You just have to stuff it down. You just have to put it aside. And you have to do things neutrally. So they have these people in New Mexico that it usually happens, and it isn't like I'm operating them or willing them to murder somebody so they'll be seen. That's not at all what I do. Again, I curse the thing that comes against me. I give it to God. Sometimes I'll name it. Very rarely do I name it. I just I name it in a certain way, like the thing that comes against me. Every once in a while I might say something, but again, there's an investigative technique going on in here and other things. The key is to give it to God, and you can sit there today and give those things that come out of your mind and your body that you can't control. You can go and you vent sometimes. Give it to God before it happens. That's how the world really is wired. They don't want you to know metaphysics because that's what's actually happening out here. The rich people don't want you to know that they didn't really work for money. They were awake and aware, young in life, and it just happened for them. It just falls before them and kneels to our greatness. That's where their mind is. But most of them are devils and Satan and all that. So these people, they manifested. And I knew that was happening. Why? Because, again, God told me. Now, what happens sometimes is they actually sent people to investigate how I knew this. They believed that there were informants telling me these things. Nobody's ever told me much at all. I mean, I had a coworker tell me the marshal was a criminal, essentially. He's used some words to say it, slang words that we use. I had some people just say don't see. They use that system against me, actually. So it was better that I didn't know anything from anybody anyway, because they'll just put people in there to lie. So I had a friend that they used to tell me not to say anything. And, based upon an investigation, if you ignore it, see, that's the weird part. They told me not to say anything, but then, what's his name? Holtzclaw didn't say anything, and they said he was guilty. So again, that discredits their system of investigation. Because in my life, I did play them, but God told me we were playing them as we were doing it. What happened, and actually it was afterwards. I probably already did it a few times before God explained to me what we were doing, but I had questions in my mind. So essentially what was happening, God wanted to show them through what I was doing that the system is crazy. Because there's some people that say, wait a minute, this don't make any sense. Like 1 minute, if he speaks out, he's guilty. The next minute, if he doesn't say anything, then he's guilty. This is the psychology. And then they start with it's just the way it kind of, sometimes it's that way, but there's more factors involved. So again, they started him and Han and trying to explain why I wasn't free from them intruding in my life, because everything they said that pointed to me being guilty was no longer there. So then they came up with some other bullshit. Eventually, you'll figure it out that it's not real. Could the psychology work? Yes, but if the system's not real, then it's bullshit. There's no way to actually work it that way. It's just like excited utterance. They push it through the people. They spell them. And they say something. You go, well, yeah, because they're guilty. But how many people did you do it to that wasn't guilty that you just simply did that to kill them with psychology? So we go back to New Mexico. Those koshes are working. Vladimir Putin is set to launch missiles. It'll land straight in the middle of New Mexico. We're actually one in the south, one in the north. I see how God set that up. You're not escaping in New Mexico. Sure, there's one on land at Fort Sill in Oklahoma. You know, I'm hearing a couple other locations are secondary targets. All right, keep going. We'll just end the planet. And they say, well, isn't that evil? No, this planet's evil. I mean, the planet's evil. We'll end it. There's goodness going on here. You have to understand, everything you see as goodness is a fix for what's broken and broken and broken and broken again. God is sick and tired of teaching the planet and having it come up a microcosm and then drop all the way down back into Satan's clutches. So they are sexualizing people. They will tell you that there's no way that anybody could become a pedophile without being a pedophile already. That's bullshit. The science they're using is such an advanced form of psychology, persuasion, that it involves torture. And that torture is open community torture. But what did I catch them doing? They drugged me. So if they can't get you to become something, they're going to spend, in my life, decades torturing me and drugging me, trying to bring it about. Some of the drugs will enhance the torture. I mean, this is what your government runs. It doesn't matter if it's an operator in the private sector. If they allow it to happen, then that's what it is. We already know they allowed Weinstein's people to operate. We already know that everything I say about what they were going to do is true. Police, they would have found, if they didn't have any right, they may already had some police officers. In fact, what was that gang in LA? They may have had the gang in LA in. You know, we tell you to do something to this woman, you do it to her. We give her some money. I didn't care. I mean, they beat people up, and now they just do some psychology. They'll keep pulling her over on certain days. And if she meets somebody, like when they try to isolate her, if she meets somebody, they get pulled over and arrested if they can. In fact, they'll make it so that person goes out and drinks and drives. They're very skilled at that. Oh, but you know, if God was with you, you would stand. That person did stand. You know why they're being killed? Because they didn't take the mark of the beast. See, you all took the mark of the beast, and you look like the picture perfect, whatever it is you fantasize that you are in your mind. But you're not all. Because you took the mark. It's a non-starter. As soon as you take the mark, then it's over. In other words, they say, well, isn't it better that these officers are there to answer the 911 calls? No. Let it fall. Let it break. Let there be nobody in the police department. If Satan owns it, let it die. That's just simple. Not asking you to be the Virgin Mary or Mother Teresa. But you want to be Satan incarnate? Running some criminal enterprise? And it's better that you answer a 911 call? No. Got to pull everybody out. Nobody will join. Just like the churches. Do you notice that? Churches, police department, people are fleeing. Fleeing Babylon. You invented some shit that isn't law enforcement any longer. And then called it good. Why? Because you get what you want. Sex, money, rock and roll. And all the sheeple. And you know the sheeple are really? It's all these people that call everybody else the sheeple. They're sheep also. They're afraid of the system. They're afraid it'll kill them if they come to go to the light and bring the truth. Let's see, is this thing still on or did they screw me up? Am I still broadcasting? I see some people just got out of government. They said they made it and they're out. They do that with a FedEx truck and we deliver for you. Thank you. With a U.S. Postal Service truck. They're out here and they're going to do some stuff. Well, I believe that finally some people are starting to look. Again, that man that was in Project Veritas, or Veritas, whatever they call it, Veritas, he can move on. We don't need Babylon. We don't need Delilah. We don't need Jezebel. Yeah, but look at the results. What results? China got richer, Russia got richer, and we got poor. But I got money. Yeah, but you're not me. You're not everybody else. So we want to know how you have money. Because you just like the Russians and the Chinese. Oh, it's Mr. Biden. He must be talking about Biden. No, this is not politics. This is reality. This is truth. This is the light. You want sunlight? Oh, we believe in sunlight. Yes, here in the Republican Party. No, you don't. But it's coming. God will bring sunlight. Believe me. In fact, if you mess up bad enough, God will blow the sun up and it'll be right here. It's psychotic to want the planet to end? No. I don't have to look at humans. I can look at animals and say this planet shouldn't exist. Again, if you know the true spiritual nature of living beings, you wouldn't even find it any doubt. And I know some of you have come to that conclusion that this planet has no right to exist any longer and probably never did. This is not the Garden of Eden. This isn't even where Noah was. So metaphysically, things have been happening to change this place. So again, that's the part of your brain you can't see. Spiritually, this planet has changed. Now, it tries to mimic the Bible, but what did it do? It taught Satan, or Satan taught everyone, how to take the Bible, use it with witchcraft and spycraft, and cause everybody that was actually here from God, where God had judged them a well heart, judged them well, and somebody of God, whether they realize God existed or not. Again, God looks at the inside. If you went there and God said, if I got this person to the right church, this guy would be or gal would be on fire for me. Now, some people call those people flamboyant. So that's my point. That's who they are. God showed me. They wouldn't talk. They would put me on the outs in Indianapolis. Hi, Indianapolis PD. You wanted me to see, or Carmel PD. You wanted me to see you. How you doing? But when I was there, they isolated me. And they probably drugged me to cause the first or maybe even second eruption of this thing. But I was online, and what I would do is when I was lonely, they ensured I was isolated. So sometimes I wouldn't feel so lonely. Sometimes I feel so lonely. I get online and I talk to Asian women. Most likely, I spoke to some law enforcement officer, I imagine, at this point, in the majority of them. Because anybody who was real would just disappear real quick, and I could never seem to contact them. But what they did is they wouldn't let anybody through that wasn't trans. And I'm laying in my apartment ready to fall over in pain. So I got this thought, hey, you're a Christian. You're supposed to treat everybody equally. Talk to them. So they started healing me. They started telling me to have faith in God. And I'm like thinking, here I am with a bunch of people working for people in law enforcement and intelligence, maybe even a direct criminal enterprise here or there. And I can't even feel okay in a church because they're playing me the whole time. And they're using spycraft, they're using witchcraft. And I get online here, and these trans people are telling me I have faith in God. I said, I prayed for you last night. Pray for me. We just said hi yesterday. I didn't know you're that good. When the people in the church know the deal. Here's 500, here's 500. You want another 500? Curse that man and make a change. Operate that man and make a change in the direction we want it to go. Church people. So again, God is no respecter of persons, and I try not to be. I'm human, I might be. But God showed it to me. You have to understand, the whole time I'm doing all of this, they want me to be like what's Bezos' first name? Alexander, Alex, Rich. What's Bezos' first name? All right, Bezos, guy from Amazon. They want to be like him for me to send pictures over the internet where somebody can leak them. So again, they would say, well, if you were with God, you wouldn't fall. I didn't fall. I didn't take the I didn't take the mark of the beast. So again, where we are in history says what? They're going to look holy. And the sinner is forgiven under several circumstances. Well, I told you I went to cam girls. Tried. I would have married the one if they didn't get in the middle. And that's metaphysically. And they did stuff to my mother to mess it up, so she would mess me up several occasions. Again, they operate, I've told you that before, they operate like a pool game. Off the left bank into the right pocket or something like that. Far right pocket. That's how spycraft works. So again, it's worse than the Soviet Union because the technology is much higher now. Although the Russians do use that. They got secret units out here that nobody's allowed to investigate, except for the other criminals, and they don't investigate them, of course. Officers told me if they knew who they were, they'd try to get them. But they shouldn't be out there doing that stuff. That's inside, Not allowed to investigate them. So again, sexualization is at a level that defies biblical fixes. It defies biblical fixes for various issues, not just sexuality. Sexuality is a big one, so that's why it comes up a lot. Well, first off, you have to be allowed to get married if you're sexual. If you have a need for sex, the Bible doesn't say that it's sinful to be sexual. Paul said you just have to take care of it in the right place. Government won't let you do that unless you're part of the thing. So if you wonder why it's so hard to be heterosexually married today, blame the government. But who's the government? Includes people in your Walmart, includes people in intelligence, includes people overseas. There are foreign spies that work with our government to harm our citizens sexually, to sexualize them, and to restrict them from marriage. To turn them into pedophile if they could. I've been fighting their pedophile operations for probably 30 years now. But what am I doing? I'm investigating it while I'm doing it, but there's no place to turn it over until I believe there was. I turned it over, and they used it against me as a psychological tool, a trauma tool. Like you send it to the FBI, and then the people that are psychologically torture you use what you sent to the FBI. So I'm going, ha, 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 ha. So what happens shortly after that? That's when that bombing in Austin happened, and I was psychically working that. And I mean, they're cursing me, and I'm still coming up with stuff that works. I told them a couple hours before they actually pulled the guy over to make sure every single person that approaches that individual, actually, I even said for the whole investigation, I think, but they needed to have body bunkers. What do you think happened? He blew himself up, and they didn't have body bunkers. Now, they weren't seriously injured, but it would have been better if they stood tall, surrounded him with the body bunkers. He pulled the explosive. They wouldn't have gotten injured at all. So, but during helping Austin with that case, they sent some bullshit operation into the Home Depot where I had already been shopping. And what they did was they caused me not to connect with somebody. Was I thinking about marriage? I actually was repulsed by this woman. I was absolutely repulsed. But I have an obligation from God that if she needs help, I should help her. And I did. Now, in the end, I felt sorry for her, and I was trying to pull her away from them because I know it was no good for her to be going down that road with the criminal spycraft operators, whether it be BI, state police, local police, whatever it was. So I told them, look, I'm a veteran, dude, because I knew what they were doing at that point. And he goes, the only heroes are the ones that come back dead. This is what one of their may have been an officer, may have been a security guy, may have been a private sector operator. I don't know who he is. Could have been a BI guy, state police guy. I don't know who it was. They presented themselves as a security company. But of course, my stuff was probably blocked, and they never received it, and they went up and they got injured. See, but when the stuff gets where it's supposed to go and it works, then I go up. They can't stop me from going up, which is all it would take for me to have had a normal life. So these are devils, demons, antichrist, witches, and sorcerers, spycraft operating from all these positions, making everyone believe that what's actually happening is just happening on its own. So yes, you have people in prison. Now just think about this number mounting. You have people in prison for various crimes that were spycraft tortured into it. And even without the torture, just being spycraft manipulated is enough. That's advanced psychology. It's actually illegal for them to use those methods in the United States. But as the number of people in prison increases, whether it be a pedophile or murderer, a narcotics distributor, whatever they did, a rapist, they were possessed to it, not only at the level of witchcraft. So again, this is where the change comes in. At the level of a science called tradecraft, spycraft, that these spies use against foreign powers. But I'm thinking, their heart's not in using it against foreign power because all these Russians are rich. All these Chinese are rich. It has nothing to do with Biden. Every one of those Republicans made money off of China in the markets. And Russia in other ways. And maybe in the markets. So you see. So as these numbers of people in prison increase that have been forced to prison by being psychologically and metaphysically changed by satanic government, whether it be your Walmart employee, they have more say. As when I was a deputy U.S. Marshal criminal investigator, there were people in Walmart that had more ability to bring the government power than I did. And they got paid by criminal enterprise and all sorts of things. That's real. That's really the world you're in. That's the government. Just somebody working in the government, that's not the government. You go down, your librarian may have more power. Again, once they enter that clique, then that's when the cop will act. Now, you go to a 911 call and you low crawl in and save a baby and a dog and a grandma. You know, it'll mean nothing when you're a devil. Satan will help you with that all day long. I'll tell you something right now. You ever look at people if you're not able to do it? You ever look at the people that can jump and run and flip and the ones that can, you know, maybe a skateboard? They look like, oh, how do you do that? I rode a bike. I'm glad to get down the street. It's metaphysics. That's all it is. You could take a 90-year-old woman that never rode a bike, and if the metaphysics were right on this planet, and if she wanted to ride a bike like that kid, she could do it. It's all spiritual. Those kids are just riding a metaphysical beam that you can't see. I've been there. They kill me when if they see me doing kung fu, they kill me. But I went from, all of a sudden I'm this kung fu dude. I'm like, what? I'm not moving myself. I'm like, God, what is that? God said, that's how they all do it. It's not real. Nobody's better than anybody. You're just blocked from it. If you weren't blocked from it being a kung fu black belt, you don't need to learn nothing. God just goes, you kung fu black belt, and then you would have it instantly. So God got enough through that I could understand how it was all happening. Now, first it was all happy ha-ha, where people could instantly have knowledge, instantly have something in their life metaphysically. It would just manifest, bam, bam. Then God showed me how they were taking it away. They are taking things away metaphysically and with psychology. Now, they would say, isn't that dog eat dog, the competition? No, you're a criminal. You work with criminals. You're a witch. You work with devils. That's not the world we're supposed to be living in. At least the one you explain when you go to church or the Gurdwara or the temple or the synagogue or the mosque. So again, I would not be injured like I am in life. I would have money. I would have a house. Even if I was relatively just the same income, my life would have worked out. I would have had a house. So again, they laugh all the time. They think it's funny. But again, that nuclear missile might just land right in the middle of each one of the states I've lived in. There's targets of interest in each one. So just keep going. You're wealthy. You're happy. You're going to get that son of a gun. Just keep going till the day you're in hell. No, you don't rule in hell. Believe me. Hell is what they don't understand is that their victim is not living the same life they are anymore. There are like they go, hey, stupid. Can't get out of your own way. They just start doing that kind of stuff like they did to Jesus when they crucified Jesus. Now, people in church are like that. Law enforcement's like that. So what's happening is the person they're making fun of is no longer living in a world the same as them because they're being possessed. So they're bringing demons and things like that to that person's life, but then they become resident in your community, and then you find it other places. That's why crime is increasing, because they're bringing demons along with their spycraft operations and their psychology to cause crime in their victims, and then it replicates everywhere else. But they would, it's good for their business, right? And they say it's not bail reform, it's metaphysics. You could have 0 prisons like Jesus wanted, like Paul wanted, and it would work as long as you weren't a devil in a police department or a devil in Walmart security or a devil in stocking the shelf at Walmart, working for them, trying to deceive somebody into committing a crime. Again, sting operations had a limited use when they were created, and that's where they should have stayed. Now nobody knows how to investigate. Well, the fact is this: if crime were to drop in your community, what would your investigators do? Sting. Just go around stinging. Why? Why don't they just patrol? Oh, it's crazy. You're actually. It's come to the point where that's where we get the quotas. Again, quotas are a funny thing. You don't need a physical quota for a quota to exist. There's peer pressure quotas on investigators everywhere they work. That should be removed. That's why I considered. I said to consider team concepts versus individual investigators. It was just getting too because people are cutthroat. And we even get some officers, I guess they were creating cases on their own. But again, it could have been a quota system. So this officer, pulls somebody over. It was a quota system. Or was it? Again, it could have been just an evil person. So again, I told you when this started that I don't renounce anything, and God has told me never to renounce it. I'm not a renunciate. I'm not to be a renunciate. I'm to live my life the best I can. And if I don't get anywhere and I have pain like I have, the planet will be destroyed. I told you. I said you years ago. I said, look, you're using all this evil stuff and you're harming me. I said, that's easy. If I wanted to destroy this planet, I could destroy this planet. I said, but don't take kindness as weakness. It's much harder to manifest this healing and much better to manifest this healing. And I kept on healing places. And they kept on doing the same thing over and over again. I explained it to you, and you may not have what I had before because you didn't go through my stuff. They would bring women around me, and they would decrease the age of the woman. No one else is allowed in my life. Nobody else is allowed to really have a conversation with me. Every once in a while, yes, to throw off anybody that might investigate. But again, that's built in. And they would make them younger and younger and younger. And in fact, the older women or the older person is supposed to do something hard to me. And the young woman is supposed to be sweet and nice. So again, this is spycraft. That's spycraft. To shift somebody into feeling comfortable only speaking to younger women. But the funny part is that pisses them off is the younger women like me too. So anybody that's like independent of the thing, it's like, what? If they hadn't done this to me, I'd be like one of those. I wouldn't be like that because I've been married already, but I could be like a 65, 70-year-old guy marrying a 22-year-old because I'm a nice person, and they never experienced nice people because they're blocking nice people from having relationships. So they would do that, and then they would disappear the woman that I was connected. Now, a woman can turn you on all day long and act like natural, especially devils, demons, antichrists, witches, and sorcerers, Delilahs, Jezebels, so on and so forth. That's what's in the government. They're not going. Look, they're not going after the Trumps. I mean, yeah, for something else, but they're not going after Trump because he was sexual and raped women. Obviously, for years he did it. Obviously, for years Epstein did it. Obviously, there's others. In fact, they actually will take money to not investigate it and make the victim look stupid. Weinstein, but it's also people in government that do that, official government. The people that work for Weinstein were unofficial government. So what they'll do is they'll disappear that woman when they see that maybe there's a connection, and they know. The woman even knows. The woman knows, okay, I'm poopy. I'm hoping I was broadcasting. So my thing fell out there. Are we there? Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, we're there. I don't know if it fell out before. I have to fix this. But I was speaking about how women that they use will manipulate the man, and they'll call it a bait operation or a sting operation. That's a scam. It's a spycraft operation designed to get that person to do what they like. Weinstein, they're protecting Weinstein type of thing, but it's also cops are doing it. And it doesn't matter if there's, it just, if somebody wants you dead in this country and they got money, they hire a spy to kill you. You might die of natural causes, you might die of something else. It's just whatever way it goes. So what they do is they take these women and they successfully make them younger. And the older women are supposed to be rude, nasty to me. So of course, that's natural life, that you will then feel more comfortable speaking to younger women. Not that I did anything with any younger women. I'm not mea culpaing here for any reason. Now, there's a Corvette you should pull over, probably. 35. On 35, going like 95. Oh, but that person's grandfathered in. They got a nice enough car not to be pulled over. They'll wait for you and your hoopty to come along, and they'll pull you over going 5 over. So they do that. Then at a certain point, the woman's going to know when there's a sexual connection. Now, I might be trying to push that woman away. If she's working with the BI, if she's working with CIA, if she's working with private sector money people, she's going to have the ability to keep that connection no matter what I want. It's how Earth works. And of course, that's satanic, but that's Earth. So she'll know if she's turning me on. But, they have certain language they use in government to say that it's happening, it's working, that kind of thing. So they'll disappear. And what they'll do is they'll use not age progression, age regression, and find somebody younger that's a minor child that looks similar to the woman that's getting me interested for like a month, 6 months, a year. That's what they're doing. They're actually using the technology we learned of age progression. Sometimes I wonder if they use the machine to do age regression. Or I guess what they could do is they could take the child and say, age progressed this kid 20 years. Hey, that kid looks just like the bait woman. We'll use her. Same color hair, same skin tone. See? That's what's going on out there. And cops say, well, I just do what I'm told. Well, that doesn't get you out of hell. Employment. Jesus didn't have a place to lay his head, and, you're not better than him. Well, that's where I'll leave it. Stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.